All right, let's talk about Squid Game. This wasn't just another TV show, was it? For a solid few weeks, it felt like the entire world was watching this one Korean drama. It was a total cultural reset. So today, we're going to deconstruct it. We'll look at how it blew up, what it was really saying, and the incredibly dark true story that sparked the whole thing.
You know, this one comment from a fan pretty much nails the entire vibe of the show. Those coffins wrapped up like birthday presents. It's just so twisted and brilliant. It really gets you thinking, right? Who is the gift for? Is it for the winner who survives? Is it for the VIPs watching from their lounge? Or maybe, is it for us, the audience, tuning in every night?
So, first things first, let's just try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this thing, because calling it popular doesn't even begin to cover it. What happened with Squid Game was, frankly, unprecedented.
I mean, look at that number. Over 111 million people watched it in the first month alone. That's insane. But honestly, the numbers only tell half the story. The real phenomenon was happening online, in the conversations, the memes, the debates.
And what's wild is how polarizing it was. You'd go on Reddit and see these two totally different conversations happening at once. Some people, maybe those who'd seen a lot of similar shows, were like, it's pretty average. But then you had this massive wave of fans calling it a straight-up masterpiece, praising the characters, and saying it was the best TV they'd seen all year. You either loved it, or you just didn't get the hype.
But it wasn't just about fan debates. This show was a wrecking ball in the industry. It smashed through barriers and got nominated for major awards that, before, felt completely off-limits to non-English shows. It really did change the game for international television.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Why? Why this show? What was the secret sauce that made these brutal, colorful, and frankly disturbing games connect with hundreds of millions of people all over the planet? To understand that, we have to look behind the curtain.
And that brings us to our next section, more than just a game. Because believe me, the story behind the show is almost as intense as what we saw on screen. This wasn't just some script that got greenlit. It was a deeply personal project that came from years of struggle.
Just think about this for a second. The creator, Hwang Dong-hyuk, literally lost teeth from the stress of making this show. That's not just a tough day at the office. That's pouring your entire being into a project. It just shows you the unbelievable level of passion that was driving this whole thing.
And all that passion was channeled into these themes that, let's be honest, hit a little too close to home for a lot of us. That feeling of being crushed by debt. The idea that the system is rigged, that morality kind of goes out the window when you're desperate. The show used these deadly games as a dark, twisted mirror for the society we actually live in.
But here's where the story takes a much darker turn. Because the most disturbing part of Squid Game isn't just a metaphor. Nope. It's actually based on a real, horrific event from South Korea's past that is, somehow, even more chilling than the show itself. So, was this all just some writer's twisted imagination? Not even close. The creator took direct inspiration from a pretty grim chapter of his country's history, a story the government tried to bury for a long, long time. And the parallels to the show? Well, they're terrifying. It was called the Brothers' Home Incident. Officially, it was a detention center for vagrants. The government was doing a so-called street purification campaign to make the city of Busan look nice and tidy before the 1988 Seoul Olympics. But what was happening inside was a complete nightmare.
Just look at this timeline. Police were literally rewarded for grabbing people off the street, kids, disabled people, anyone they considered an undesirable, and throwing them into this place. Thousands were used as slave labor, they were tortured, abused, hundreds died. And the punchline? After all that, the man in charge got a measly 2-year sentence. For embezzlement. Not for the torture, not for the deaths. This idea of a system that treats human beings as disposable, that's the soil Squid Game grew out of.
Okay, so this is where the story takes a wild turn and starts to, well, eat its own tail. We're talking about the show's biggest, most fascinating irony, how a brutal takedown of capitalism became one of the hottest products on the planet. Academics and critics, they absolutely loved it for its message. They called it this brilliant, symbolic critique of our society, how the system pits desperate people against each other for the amusement of the super rich. It was this powerful statement. And then, almost overnight, that powerful anti-capitalist statement was turned into a shopping list. Suddenly, you could buy the green tracksuit from Puma. You could get limited edition Crocs with little blood splatter charms. The critique itself became a brand, complete with spin-offs and, yep, a real-life competition show. And this is where things get really uncomfortable. where the line between the fiction, the depiction, and reality, the hyunseol, got seriously blurred. That real-life game show, The Challenge, ended up facing lawsuits from contestants claiming they were put through inhumane conditions. There were reports of people getting hypothermia and nerve damage. Suddenly, the entertainment was coming at a real human cost all over again.
So where does the game go from here? The show is now this massive global franchise. What's the final takeaway supposed to be?
Well, when Season 2 came out, the reviews were mixed. People still thought it was sharp and ruthless with its commentary, for sure. But a lot of critics felt it just couldn't recapture that lightning-in-a-bottle magic of the first season. The general vibe was that it felt more like a bridge, just a setup for a final, third season, instead of its own complete story.
And that really leaves us with the show's final, chilling message. The creator himself was asked if this story could ever have a happy ending. And his answer was basically no, because he asks, can our society have a happy ending? The show was born from a cynical view of the world, and it seems that's exactly where it wants to leave us, wondering if, in this game we're all playing, anyone ever really wins at all.